Hi guys, and welcome to Fantasy Forge. This video is all about a 60-inch wide print of the Angel of Death. The model's just temporarily put together just to give you an idea of the size and scale and what it will look like when it's finished. I had to build it in about 6 parts, mainly because the bed on my printer is only about 400 by 400 millimeters. So I think you'll see there's about 6 or 7 parts there that have to be glued together, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. That was the original head that came with the STL file, and this is a skull that I found on Amazon. I think it was about $10. It's animated. Not that I'm going to use that, but it's going to replace the original head. If you've seen my T-Rex video, you'll see that, or know that I use threaded rods, screw threads, machine screws, anything with a rough finish to help attach the two parts together. You need something strong, otherwise the parts will just break apart. I use Bondo to glue the parts together, and then after they're glued together I'll run around with super glue just to make doubly sure that everything's well attached. I also go around and fill any small cracks or very small fissures in the joints, and you'll always get those because these are never perfect. As you see, I'm using a red Bondo. I don't like this red hardener because it tends to show through white paint, which is what I'm going to be using on this final model. But it's all that was available at Home Depot at the time. I have seen it on Amazon, the hardener, white. I think it's about 3 or 4 times the price. But if you're going to use this for PLA, white PLA, and your paints are going to be white, be advised that red Bondo will bleed through if you don't give it enough coats. You'll see in a lot of my videos I'm using this silver foil tape. It's very malleable, it bends and conforms to almost any shape. It's amazing stuff. It sticks very, very well indeed to PLA, but it comes off easily without leaving a residue. And you can feel through it with your fingers to make sure that the joint is nice and flat. Now you can buy this on Amazon, and last time I saw it on Amazon it was around $28 a roll, but it is a Home Depot product and it's about $7 a roll in Home Depot, so that's probably the best place to buy it. But as you can see, in virtually all my videos I use this tape to hold the joints together. It holds extremely well, and as I say, it doesn't leave a residue when you remove it. I use a palette knife to remove any excess because even though Bondo is very easy to sand down, it's softer than the PLA. The more you can remove and the less work you have to do, the better. So I take it off with a palette knife, a small palette knife. Spend a bit of time cleaning it up before you finalize and tape it over it, and you'll find it saves you a lot of work in the end. Now I found these hanger bolts in, I think it was Rockler. They may have them at Home Depot as well, but these are really useful for joining parts together. They've got a nice thread on them, very small in size, so they'll easily fit in these small sections, and they make a good joint with you when you cover them with Bondo and put them in the hole. Now here I'm drilling a hole ready for those exact hanger bolts. Oversized so that there's plenty of room to feed in some Bondo, and they fit perfectly, and they join very, very well. They're very strong indeed. What I'm doing here is just using a little bit of acrylic paint around the holes that I've drilled, and I'll put the two halves together, and that will mark on the other half exactly where I need to drill another hole. As you can see from that, they're perfectly marked, ready to drill. Now I've already drilled the hole where it was marked, and I'm going to put in as much Bondo as I can to make a nice secure joint. Screw it in first of all, then I'll take it out and put some Bondo in on a palette knife, push in as much as I can, and then finally I'll put the screw thread in and leave it to dry before I put the two halves together. I do test fit them as well before I make the final joint, just to make sure that the screw is aligned in the correct orientation. Now this is where I've put the two halves together. Apply quite a liberal amount of Bondo on the two halves. The screw's already dried and set in the hole. On both sides I put another threaded screw, and the bottom of the wing on the other side. You can just see it in that image. This Bondo will ooze out a little bit when I put the two halves together, and then I'll clean it up again with a palette knife before it fully hardens. If you clean it up when it's still rubbery, it's much easier than trying to clean it up when it goes hard. Even though it's softer than PLA, it still is it's quite a lot of cleaning up to do, especially on this wing where there's lots of undercuts. And you'll see I put another piece of another amount of Bondo on the other wing in the hole, just to make sure that the two threaded rods are well secured. It's pretty cold in the workshop at the moment, about 55 degrees, so it gives me plenty of time to position the two halves. Takes about 15-20 minutes for that Bondo to go off. If it was a nice sunny day and the temperature was about 70 or 80 degrees, I'd only have about 5 minutes before it starts hardening. As you can see, I use that silver foil tape an awful lot in construction of all these large models. It was great on the Dinosaur because it conforms to the uneven surface extremely well. And as I said before, it does not leave a residue, so you could literally go straight over this with primer if you wanted to. Although I tend to roughen up the surface with a 3M pad of some sort before I do any priming, just to give it an extra key. Now I know a lot of people are going to ask me where that STL file comes from. Now I originally purchased it from cgtrader.com on the internet, but when I looked recently, it had disappeared from their stock. So it's not called the Angel of Death. I think I just searched for Angel and I found it that way. The designer, I don't know his name offhand, but I believe he still is selling his products, his files, but I haven't been able to find them in any of the normal online sellers. So you may have to hunt for that. But as I say, it was available at cgtrader.com, but recently when I looked, I couldn't find it. Well, that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please leave them below and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. See you in the next video. Take care.